When we look back at it now, the truth is that there is a lot that we didn't understand about running a business, even more about running a business as a husband and wife team. It really came to a head when I had to do an operation and he looked at it and said,
my marriage or my company? So I said, I can always start another company. I don't want to get divorced. It made sense to work on our marriage. It led to depression. I was angry at her for years. Our relationship was good, but the idea of doing business together was painful for me. It felt like she was badgering me, like she didn't believe in me.
Hello Throppers, and welcome back to another video podcast episode. If this is your first time visiting, a special welcome to you. My name is Winthrop Wellington and I am the host of On Deck with Throp, where we have meaningful conversations with people from all over the world, all about Jamaica. And today we actually have two special guests that are joining us, another set of Jamaican YouTubers, fellow Jamaican YouTubers. And we have both Jermaine and Renate McDonald from Learn, Grow, Invest. Welcome to the show, both of you.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Absolutely. And you drove a long way here to do this.
Yeah.
I don't take that for granted, but I don't know if it's so obvious to everybody, but you guys make some really amazing content as it relates to financial literacy. We will definitely be diving very deep into that and your channel. But to start with, I want to give you guys an opportunity to introduce yourselves to the Throp community.
Ladies first.
All right, so my name is Renate McDonald. I am the Chief Operating Officer of Learn, Grow, Invest and wife to Mr. Jermaine McDonald.
Thank you. Should have said that first.
Yeah. Mother of one. And just really, really passionate about sharing what it is that we have learned on our financial journey and what we believe will be helpful to raise up the next generation and to help others know to learn the things that can benefit them financially, so that generational wealth can be built and that our nation overall can be improved. Yeah.
Wow, I don't even know how to follow that. I'm Jermaine McDonald, CEO of Learn, Grow, Invest. Entrepreneur is, I'd say, the first thing to really describe me. I've been around business, thinking about starting businesses for a long time now. And Learn, Grow, Invest was really just something that it was a natural progression that extended from who we are as people. Like, we naturally want to help others, and that's also why we create content, right? Because YouTube is a free platform. It's just us giving back, and it's been an interesting journey. This is our second company that we're running together. Interesting, the first one, but this is also our 20th year together. So we've learned the nuances of working with each other. Yeah. And for me, it's just, I love to learn. I love to, I'm a basketball fan, play chess, speed chess to be specific. And yeah, that's it. I mean, any conversation around business, investing, that's me.
Awesome. And how long since you started your YouTube channel?
Well, this month is actually our 3-year anniversary.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah. Yes. So Renate was showing me, our OneDrive showed us our memories. And she was showing me, my thumbnails. I remember when we tried to shoot those first set of thumbnails. Yeah. And I was trying to do, when you're trying to do like the YouTuber poses.
Some pensive poses.
Yes. So I was trying to see him all deep and meaningful. Yes.
That's so hilarious.
Yes. But 3 years ago.
We never use those.
Yeah.
Probably a good thing.
So I did a personal channel I did a 30-day challenge. At the end of the 30 days, I realized that I don't like talking about myself.
Gotcha.
So we started to work on our first channel together called Loving to the Max. Yes. We worked on that one. That one was focused on couples, marriages, etc. And then we realized that we kept on, kind of circling the topic of money.
Right.
And so we did a few videos about couples and managing their money. We saw that there was interest but persons weren't comfortable talking about it.
Right. It's such a sensitive topic for so many. It on a personal level, it's sensitive for people, and then it's
Even
like when
more
they're
so.
in a relationship, it becomes doubly sensitive. So
Right.
people don't want to talk about it, and then we're also talking about it from a biblical perspective.
Yeah.
And then that makes people even more uncomfortable because they're like, oh, faith and money, no, the two, like in their heads, they don't mix. But the truth is that our finances reflect our faith. Like
Yeah.
how you see, how you operate in your faith informs how you deal with money. And we were trying to make that connection for people because
Yeah.
our couples channel was really started based on our marriage ministry. So we do help couples, we do work with couples, we do minister to couples and just share with them because like it's 20 years. We've been through a lot. We've been through a lot. And so we're able to help people through a lot of things. And we were just talking about those topics at first. There's a number of different topics and finance was one of them. And eventually we said, since we have Learn, Grow, Invest, this group at the time, I think it was still a WhatsApp group.
Yes, and
that we were working with.
So Learn, Grow, Invest, I guess we can start to tell that story.
Yes.
So Learn, Grow, Invest was pretty much started when we were learning. We did our first investment. Didn't know what we were doing. Then we had dinner with some friends. They seemed to know what they were doing. So I was like, let's form a group with these smart people who can teach us. And as soon as we learned enough to feel comfortable helping others, we started to add more people to the group. So it went from 7 to like 20, 30 to maybe like 70. And we're like, well, we don't necessarily want to. We felt kind of concerned about, securing that core group.
Yeah.
So we said, okay, let's have kind of like some requirements to join, and we overthought it, I would say.
Yeah.
And then we were doing these monthly meetings, and then the pandemic, happened. Then we just went online. So in April 2020, we did our first Learn, Grow, Invest meeting on Teams,
Right.
and the rest is really history, because we started to say, well, let's just focus on YouTube. We can start creating content to answer some of the questions that we hear all the time. Because every month when we had our meetings, we would have to explain the same things over and over again. So we're like, let's just do videos on it. And then it just kind of grew from there. We started doing, stock reviews, interviews with CEOs, it just kind of blew up from there, really.
Yeah.
And I was going to ask, do you guys do everything together?
We try not to. We try not to.
But most times we end up doing
most things.
Oh, that's great.
things together.
I'd say even going back to your first channel, the couples channel, as like you were explaining this, and you guys already have a previously established relationship, and then you're going into business together, and one of the main things that you were talking about was finances. And in the United States, one of the top, and the divorce rate in the United States is over 50%, right?
Yeah.
So, and one of the main reasons for divorces is finances.
Right.
And a lot of the times it's because there are no conversations around the world of finance and each other's finances.
Right.
And I don't know too much about it, but I would think that the expectations are just misaligned. And so my question is, how did you get to that point of understanding that this is an important topic that there needs to be some level of transparency around?
Well, we looked at our own finances. It is really what we were doing with our first channel was sharing our story.
Yeah.
And we had this situation where we were in about $2 million debt. We needed to figure out how to clear that debt. So the strategies that we used to clear the debt were pretty much what we were sharing with people. We're saying, well, this is what we did to overcome our challenges. Here are some things that you can try, or maybe this is what we did. These are what others do. Try one of them and see what works.
Right.
So it was more descriptive because we weren't like saying this is what worked for us, so you have to do it.
Right.
It was more this is why it worked for us based on maybe our personalities or background or relationship at that point. So I mean, it just kind of made sense. We've always tried to focus on what we know. We don't speak on things we're not familiar with.
Yeah.
It would make it less. It'd be like giving you theory.
Right.
if we haven't done it, then it wouldn't be as effective, I think. Otherwise, I'm just kind of reading something and sharing it. So yeah.
I'm probably asking this from like a selfish reason because like I don't like, so I come from, my parents were divorced when I was 4, and best thing, they're better apart, trust me. Honestly, I don't even know how they got together in the first place, but it worked for the time that it did, and it got me and my 2 brothers out of that relationship. And that's just all I knew growing up. I didn't know, and I never thought I was weird or at any disadvantage. Like I knew both my parents loved me and my brothers very, very much. But it's also something that I think about now as an adult that wants to have a family, and I don't want to get divorced, right? And so I try to learn about relationships, and I also learn from those that are working, and then also want to learn from those that haven't worked, so I don't have to go out and make those mistakes.
That's
that
a
I've
great
learned
idea,
about.
actually.
Exactly, because it's more painful to learn through the mistakes, right? So the part that Jermaine didn't mention is that we were on the brink of divorce and separation. We were at that point where if somebody person mentioned it, would be done. There was just this high level of frustration and resentment and all of that.
And most of it due to money.
Exactly. Most of it was due to financial issues. Yeah. So that first business that he mentioned that we had together,
rest in peace.
That was really at the center of a lot of arguments for us. So I was working full time at the time, and he was
financing the business. So she took every loan possible.
So I took the loans. I poured all of my salary into the business, and it became frustrating. And he was then on the other side. He was doing the business full time and struggling with, is my wife really supporting me? Is she being there for me in the way that I need her to be there? So because I would try to keep him accountable
I'm trying to be a millionaire, and she wants to go to the movies. I'm like, it just didn't make sense.
So there is that, and there was also the fact that I was trying to keep him accountable to what he committed.
She says accountable, Throp. That's the word she's using.
Yes. So he would say, okay, I need X amount for this period of time. By the end of the year, we'll accomplish this.
And then she'll say, so what if it doesn't happen? So you said that you're going to do 2 million this year. What if you don't? I said, why wouldn't it happen? Because it's like I became, she was like a one-person board of directors.
Right.
That I had to, it's like every New Year's Eve, we had to sit down, talk about how things are going to go for the year. And I remember the year that we closed the company, as worn, as just tired, because I felt like I felt like a politician giving her promises, because every time I said we're going to have a great year, we had a terrible year. Every time
I mean, when we look back at it now, the truth is that there's a lot that we didn't understand about running a business, and even more about running a business as a husband and wife team. So we were learning a lot through that. And then it really came to a head when I had to do an operation, and he looked at it and said, I made a choice. So it was my marriage or my company. So I said, I can always start another company. I don't want to get divorced. Same thing that you said. It made sense to work on our marriage. And that's 10 years ago in February. We closed down our store. And I mean, it led to depression. I was sad for a while, upset for a while. I was angry at her for years and probably didn't even realize years. It took the way that I knew I was angry was when she asked, we were just kind of talking about the idea of running a business together. And I got so angry
I was like, well, maybe we need to talk first before we jump back into this meeting. Our relationship was good,
Right.
but the idea of doing business together was painful for me. And that's because of those same discussions that we would have. It felt like she was badgering me, like she was pressuring me, like she didn't believe in me. And so that really impacted me to the point that the idea of working with her together again felt like we would have more of the same. And so, yeah.
So it taught us a lot about each other and how to actually navigate those things, how to pull the strengths from each other, as opposed to trying to impose our will or our way on the other person.
Yeah.
So right now, he is entrepreneurial. He is like business. He's the guy, right? If you want to do something business related, if you want to find out about how to improve a business, he's that guy. He's a systematic thinker, great at that. Me, I'm more on the creative side. So give me a task to do, something to do with my hands, give me something to create, give me a timeline and a budget, I'll get it done. I am a project manager by profession, right?
Yeah.
So it makes sense in my head in that way. So that for me is why I had to ask the questions. Okay, and if you've dealt with project managers before, you probably know. We're going to ask you the questions because we need the information in order to plan, right?
And I get it now that that mindset of a project manager was why she wanted to know the details of the business before. It wasn't because she didn't believe in me, it's because she wanted to understand that, yes, I had a plan and I'm not just asking her to take a loan for the 100th time with no plan. And the truth is, anyone who's an entrepreneur will tell you, you don't always have a plan. You're like, you just need to get through today. I just need to make payroll today. I just need to be able to pay the light bill because they're about to cut it off on Friday. Like you're thinking about the next thing. And that was something that, so because most entrepreneurs are self-taught, I think that's the reason why most of the time you fail through a few businesses before you're successful. Because there are some simple things that nobody taught us, like 1 year we did 12 million in sales from home. So we're like, great year. The following year, we went out and rented an office, hired 4 people, set up a great display.
We did too much.
So we went from doing 12 million to just spending a ton of money on infrastructure, people, without even understanding what brought us to the point of making that money. Like we had no idea.
And we also didn't understand the macro economy at all. We didn't understand global economy. It wasn't even a consideration in our minds, because that year that he's talking about, that recession. Recession.
Right.
And so people were not as liquid anymore. So we did that 12 million in 2008. So here in Jamaica, we felt the brunt of the recession more 2009, right? And so 2009, people weren't spending in the same way. And we went out and spent everything that we had and then some.
Yeah, so the business was living above its means.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
But it also points to the importance now of that financial education, right?
Yeah.
And that was a lesson that we learned on the business side, but we also learned quite a bit on the personal side. And so we tie all of that into what we do now.
Yeah. So the benefit of us failing miserably, because I remember the day, like I remember vividly. So for years when we were running the business together, she was like, I think you should go back to school. I was like, why? I'm running a business. I'm going to be very successful. This is going to be everything that I ever need. Wait until I'm successful. You're going to wish that you believed in me more. These were all the things I was saying, right? She was like, what if it doesn't work out? Just go back to school. I said, well, the only way I'll go back to school is if you pay for it. She's like, sure, I'll pay for it. I was like, well, I have no choice now. I have to go because she said she's going to pay for it. So she started paying for school for me in 2010. We closed the business in 2013. School finished in 2016, right? So the year that we closed the business, I had nothing else to do but focus on school.
Right.
So here I am doing a bachelor's degree course that's mainly about business and management. And so I'm acing all of these courses because I have real world experience. And so I finished at the top of my class.
Awesome.
You know, every course was like, you know, I've done this before. What you're talking about in the book, I've actually lived, kind of thing. So school led to an internship at Microsoft, which led to a full-time job at Microsoft, which pretty much kind of sent me on this path that I'm on now as a technical trainer for my 9-to-5 job, right? So her nagging me to go to school. Wow. I say nag lovingly, lovingly. It was perceived as nagging, right? Because it was like every time we had a conversation about the business, you think you should go back to school? And she actually is still that way today. Because we had a conversation earlier this week where I'll say to her, she is so persistent that when she wants something, she'll say it repeatedly until she gets it. And what she wanted me to do was to go back to school, and she got it. And it worked out because it was something that provided me with a great network. Because a lot of the relationships I formed at school, at university, because I went to UCC, and if you know UCC, it's like a business professionals school.
Right.
Like it felt like I was surrounded by business people, business owners, entrepreneurs, people working 9-to-5 and then going to school part-time. So it was my crowd. So I made friends easily. I grew my network there. So a lot of those persons became either customers, partners, etc., that I was able to work on you know, projects with and make money from that. So it's something that, looking back, I'm happy that I, you know, listened to her and just did the course. But the lessons, as she said, that we learned from the first company, we were able to apply to Learn, Grow, Invest. And that's why we're able to make it a profitable company. And we'll get into it, of course. But
I was gonna say, I think the whole origin story that you guys just told me is just like amazing and very unique dynamics, right? Husband and wife. The wife supports the husband in his pursuit of his dream that didn't initially work out. And then you encourage him thinking differently, thinking in a way that perhaps he wasn't even considering, and encouraging him to go to school, get his bachelor's, study business. And I think that like that's an amazing dynamic to have in a marriage relationship, but then also in a business relationship and business partnership. And I can only relate to you from the perspective of being in a family business. And Renee was your board of directors, and my board of directors would be my brothers. And I'm usually the one that comes up with the crazy ideas and doing this. And what if we could do this? What if we could do this? And then my brothers are far more practical than I am. Very, very smart.
I like that word, practical.
Very smart, but I found that, and it's through trial and error, it's through growth, it's through butting heads, it's through overcoming your own internal ego and putting that aside. It's through realization that at the end of the day, my brothers, Renee, Jermaine, you want the best for each other.
Exactly.
And then once and it took me years to get to that point. It took me years to get to the point of just realizing, and it sounds so simple and maybe just innate, but again, the ego will sometimes get in the way.
Yeah.
And I realize, and even now to this day, it's just like, I know my brothers want me to win, and they don't want me to fail. They're always going to look out for my best interest. And so I always take that, anything that I'm going to them with, ideas or whatever have you, support, I always go into it with that context. And any sort of critical feedback that they may be giving me, I also receive it in that context as well. And that's what really helped me get over that. And I think in many ways helped me to succeed in any endeavor. And then they also have that confidence in me as well with whatever that they're doing, you know. And if I'm not afraid to be honest and transparent about how I feel about an idea or what they're doing and or whatever have you, because I know they're going to receive it in that way. Okay, like Throp is looking out for me.
I actually said this to her a few weeks back, that I've learned to take feedback so well now because I've gotten so much of it. Because I had to, I think that I've been brought to a place of being so humble, because I've said everything that I needed to say to get what I wanted. It never worked out the way that I planned. And so it's like asking your parents to borrow the car, you ruin the car and you have to come back and say, you know, I'm sorry. It was like that, but like 100 times. Like I can tell you one that sticks out for me was when we were going to do this business transaction. I'm thinking that I can sell 1 million of these, let's call them thumb drives, right? Do you remember those? And Renee is like, are you sure you want to do this? I said, well, I mean, it was $1 million worth of thumb drives that we took on credit, right? And I was like, well, this is easy. It's a few hundred. I'm going to do this, the same thing that we always do. And so we took them on credit, sold a handful of them, right? So $1 million worth. We sold maybe 100,000. And then it took so long to sell them that they started to go bad, and we had some issues. Then it got to the point that we held on to them so long that our suppliers now, they had to pay who they bought it from. So they started to put pressure on us to pay it. And that situation was handled extremely poorly on my part. And it brought me to such a place of being humble because I've done everything. I like to say to persons that I've done everything and said everything to get somebody to believe in me, invest in me, and people continually do it. But when I do that same thing of like thinking so big that I can't fail, it has to work, that mindset is dangerous. Because what you don't do is think about how do you protect the trust that somebody has given you, whether it's their money, whether it's their time, whether it's a favor. Because there are times when I remember a friend, I asked him to kind of stand as guarantor for me, for someone, for a supplier. And he said, you know, trust Jermaine. Jermaine is a good guy. You can do business with him. And I let him down. Right? So those are lessons that I take with me now, because it's taught me the value of being a man of my word. So if I say something now, I have to deliver on it, because I understand that relationships can break down forever with just a simple breach of trust. So those lessons for me, I think, brings me to a place where I can lead, I guess, a little better now, because I'm not taking it for granted what anybody is investing in us as a company, as a couple, you know, because we've been through it, right? Yeah. We're not going to share every single story, but just say that we've been through just about everything you can think about, though.
But I'm glad that you raised the family dynamic, and just realizing that you're going towards the same goal. What we always say is that we're on the same team. So we have the same objective. If it is that I say something that offends you, let's talk about that and clear that up real quickly so that we can move to what the actual goal is. You know, and it's not always easy because the emotions come into play, right? But we have been disciplining ourselves in that way, especially when it comes to the business side, to say, hey, we are running a business together. Our emotions can't be what's in control here. So let's deal with that. On the side of our relationship, it's the same way, though. We will say, all right, we have a disagreement and we're gonna hash it out, but we're also going to
imagine that meeting where personally we're upset with each other, but we have a business meeting.
Yeah, we have business to do, so we have to do the business, but then we're going to come back and deal with the personal side, because as Jermaine said earlier, our marriage comes first, right? If we have to choose, we're going to choose our marriage, and we are going to protect our marriage, because another thing that happened with us in the past is that we never used to protect our marriage, meaning that I would speak about our marriage poorly, and he would speak about our marriage poorly. And then, you know, when we're talking to persons outside of our relationship poorly about our relationship, then
it paints a certain picture.
Exactly. It paints a terrible picture on the outside. And then they're going to give feedback according to what you have said.
Yeah,
right?
I'm sure our friends were like, why are you guys still with each other?
Exactly.
And you're so unhappy.
It sounded like we were in a horrible marriage. Now, we were struggling, but
yeah, we were just complaining.
Yeah, you know, yeah, we weren't really sharing from a place of, can you help us? We were sharing from a place of, oh, he's to this and she's to that, and you know, he's a problem. Da, da, da. And even in that, we had to grow through it. We had to learn how to honor and respect each other in our marriage. So yes, we can have friends, and yes, we can share challenges, but we're sharing in a safe space, and that safe space meaning we have agreed that this person or these persons are safe persons to talk to. We know that when we talk to these persons, we're getting good counsel. It's not just them saying, left him, man, nobody did that, da, da, da. These are persons who have our best interest at heart as a couple, and who are looking towards our success as well. You know, they're on our team.
Right.
So we had to start protecting our marriage in that way, so that we can grow together on the personal side and operate together better on the business side too. And
when you first started dating or first got married, was the intention or the idea to get into business eventually with each other?
Well, so actually when we got married, we were already in business together. So we met actually while I was working.
Okay.
So, and then shortly after we started dating, she encouraged me to grow the business. So she was like, get registered and start paying your taxes. And I was like, why do I need to do all this stuff? So she was trying to, you know, make me into something worthwhile, if you understand what I mean. Like, she's like, I see you working, you know, you're trying a thing, but I can, you know?
That's awesome.
Yeah, because let's put that in context. This guy used to go and fix people's computers for pizza. Like, he'd take
hungry.
no pay, right? He's like,
I understand.
Just feed me, I'll do it for you.
System, I'm like, use the money to buy food anyway. So if you give me food, I'm good.
I said, sir, no, that's not.
Yeah, that's literally.
That's not you doing business, right? So that is where it started, in terms of me saying to him, hey, all right, maybe there's a better way.
Yeah, very early. So we met in 2003, and maybe by 2006, I was trying to do the business full time. We got married in 2009. So when we got married, we were already, she would work 12-hour shifts and then come to the business place, work for a couple of hours, get an hour or two sleep, and then go back to work. So we've been working. And before I had my own company, she used to spend time with me at my father's business. So we were always surrounded by business, right? Yeah. And it's interesting because I think that made her feel like there was no personal life, because we spent a lot of our time working. And actually, even to this day, the challenge is, if we're sitting down to watch a movie, I'm probably thinking about a business or something. Like, I'd be like, I wonder if I should send that email right now. She's like, it's 11 p.m., you're in bed, the email can be sent tomorrow. I was like, yeah, but if I type it up now, I can schedule it to be sent tomorrow morning. So it's hard for me to turn that side of me off, because I feel like it's still like untapped potential, right? So I have a lot of ideas, I have a lot of things that I want to accomplish. And I think it's just, I think business is just a great thing to have, be a part of, to do. It's providing value, right? So every business, the reason why somebody would pay you is that you're giving them value of some kind. Mm-hmm. And I just want to just see how much I can do that, right?
So from my perspective, the answer is no. I had no intention of owning a business or being an entrepreneur.
Furthest thing
that wasn't my thing. I was just like, I am gonna go to school, I'm gonna get a job, and I'm gonna work for the rest of my life. That was literally the way that I saw things. So when I had started working and I'm earning, I was like, all right, yeah, you know, this is it.
Time to live.
Yeah, just live life now, you know. So I was ready to start enjoying everything. So he would have.
I'm really sorry.
He would have been raised with that entrepreneurial surrounding and that spirit. For me, it was more of a 9 to 5 and enjoy your weekends kind of vibe. And so that's what I knew. I didn't know entrepreneurship. I didn't know that life, and it didn't seem appealing to me because I'm like, where's your life? You know what I mean?
Where's your life and where's your money? Because I think she was looking at how the fact that I'm working all the time, I have no money, so it wouldn't be appealing from that perspective, because again, it was taking her from living, right?
Yeah, but I mean, honestly, for me, it wasn't so much about the money or the lack thereof, because at that time in my life, I was very much like, I'm earning my money, I don't need yours. You know what I mean? And I was also interested in the person of who he was and not what he had. It wasn't about, okay, what can you do for me financially? It was about, how can we build together? What can we build together? Which is why I would always share with him the thoughts that I had. How can this be better? How can it be more? How can it be more fruitful for you? So I was always like, you can do this. You can, with your business. So for the first few years, it was just me like, yeah, I'm supporting your business. Mm-hmm. It took years for me to start owning it as well, and to come alongside him to say, it's our business. All right, we are doing this together. It just wasn't something I thought about. And when I realized, okay, I can actually add value, I can actually help him, let me do that. I came in and I started actively participating in the business at that point. And then last year, I left corporate and started working with Learn, Grow, Invest full time.
Awesome.
And I was like, well, who did not see this coming? But that is the leading that I have now. This is where I believe I'm supposed to be. So while I still do projects, I still work on projects. Learn, Grow, Invest is a major part of everyday life now. So I'm the one. I'm with him now because he still does it. I'm with him now.
I still work 9 to 5. She works in Learn, Grow, Invest full time, and every free time I have is dedicated to Learn, Grow, Invest.
I think this is like so interesting, right? Because in the world of modern dating, and if you already know this, you can stop me. There is, if you pay attention to, like, I guess what's going on in, what would I say, the more global YouTube genres. I don't know what to call it, but you have. I'm completely generalizing here. Like, don't cancel me for saying this, please. But you have a lot of modern women out there, and in the modern dating scene, where a lot of these quote unquote modern women, they're looking for men that are made, and they have these, I think, very sometimes unrealistic expectations in terms of what they're making financially. So, I mean, there's been so many of these videos on these very famous podcasts where, like, I'm sorry, I can't date anybody that's making less than 300,000 US a year,
I've seen
or
those
500,000 US a year, right? And then you have, Renee, it's like the opposite. You saw extreme potential in Jermaine, and you helped him, you supported him, and like look at this. Like this is like, I would say, of course, every relationship has its challenges, but like you guys are together, you guys weather the storm together, you're in business together. And to me, this is a relationship that I would want. This is a relationship I think most people would want to achieve. And I guess maybe, like, I don't know, what factory did they make you at so we can send other people?
So, no, I mean, it's...
We just have to give God the glory for that one, because I tell you, that's what transformed it for us.
It's something that we've heard before, but, you know, I say to persons whenever so one, we're grateful that we have, you know, built something that is admirable, at least from the outside. It's not as easy as it looks, I would say, because it's so much work, like, meaning we work on our marriage more than we work at our business. Like, it's that much work. So, but the good thing is you will always get exactly what you put in. Meaning, if you put in the work, it can be great. So, I mean, if you want to be where we are, you have to put in 20 years. It took us 20 years to get here.
Yeah.
Like, if you saw us at year 10, we wouldn't look the same, we wouldn't sound the same, we wouldn't have the same, you know, perspective. A lot of things that we needed to get over and to grow out of, we didn't at that point. At year 10, we were married for just a couple of years, we were struggling. So nobody would want a marriage that we had at that point. In fact, persons were very concerned, as Renee said, like, you know, are things okay? But we got to a point where our finances were in trouble, our marriage was in trouble, and so something, you know, had to change. And, you know, I say this to her all the time, that we could have split, found two people, been happy, but I'm happy that we did what we did in terms of we stayed through the hard part. Because I think sometimes, just like with anything else in life, it's like maybe the higher the mountain, the more joy you feel when you get to the top, kind of thing. So we've worked so hard at our marriage that it feels good to get to this point that we've dealt with everything, you know, insecurity, you know, challenges in terms of, you know, communication, and something that will spoil for anybody watching us now. Communication is one of those things you're always working on.
I was just going to say, like, there are things that we're still working on now.
But it's such that, so happiness, I think, you know, one of the things you said where persons may have an unrealistic expectation of marriage. A very simple example I'll give is that, so for example, we internally may think that we are capable of growth, change, improvement. We think the other person will stay exactly how we know them.
Yep.
That poses a problem, because if we don't think the other person is capable of change and growth, we'll treat them a certain way, we'll have certain expectations, which makes it challenging, right? So just relationships in general are challenging, even more so in marriage, right? So we had to, everything that we wanted or we thought about or we expected going into marriage, we had to redefine all of that.
Yeah.
Right?
And I'll add this too. So a lot of the things that we do comes from how we were raised or things that we've been exposed to as children, right? So one of the things I saw a lot, especially in my teenage years, was other persons being in relationships with the rich guys, and they never worked out. Like, somebody was always cheating, somebody was always doing some mess, and it never worked out. So a part of me was like, I don't want a rich man. Like, literally, there was a part of me that said, I don't want a rich man. I'd rather find someone who is just starting and build with him instead, because there were so many issues that I saw when you don't have it. Like, you as a female, you don't have it. You're not made yourself, but you want a made man, and you go to the made man, and the made man is like, okay, well, my rules, you know,
Right.
You are kind of at my mercy. Those were the relationships I saw, and I said, no, that's not what I want. So I think in my mind, I had kind of already thought about that and said, no. I actually said it to my cousin, and I said, no, I'd rather start out with someone and we build together so that whatever we have is ours.
And I think that works because when you build together, no, I mean, what Renee said, of course, she said that's what she saw. So I don't want
Right, it's a generalization
persons to
again.
think that that's how it is all the time. But building together means you have the perspective that we're going to the same place, and also whatever we own is ours. I think that's a very strange concept for a lot of people. So one of the things that we do that we don't necessarily encourage everybody to do, but this is what we do. We manage our finances together. Most couples don't do that.
Yeah.
Most persons can't fathom that thought where, you know, does that mean that they are going to tell me how to spend my money? No, it means you're going to decide how to spend it together.
Right.
Right? Those are simple things that it to me, it's like if you want to live alone, you can live alone. But if you want to be in a marriage, you should be thinking that way, that it's together. Like if you're going on a trip, why not go somewhere that you'd want to go together instead of you dragging me somewhere and me being on my phone and you doing your thing? Like we've seen married people live separate. If you understand what I mean, like you do your thing, I do my thing. It works for us. I'm like, that's fine, but it's almost like you're single.
Right. So
It's
then it's like, what's the point? You know? And then, yes, you'll have different interests and all of that. And you need your
so
individual
it's
space.
I'm not saying where you need to do everything together.
Right.
I'm just saying like, it's like, I don't know if you're kind of picturing what I'm saying. Like there are persons who, based on even the fundamental way that they make decisions, you would think they were single. Like if you didn't see them with a ring, you'd probably think they were single because there's absolutely no thought or appreciation for another person.
And we shared that on a program before about managing finances together as a married couple. And we were blasted.
We're told we're unrealistic.
People were like, these people are unrealistic. Oh, forget them. Them young. Them don't live life yet. And I'm like, what?
Yeah.
So it's just that people don't think that way.
Right.
A lot of people don't think that way anymore. They don't see it as feasible. Even when we did our videos on our other channel on Loving to the Max about it, we got a lot of comments under some of those videos saying, you know, how does this actually work? You know, can this
Is
be?
this a thing?
Is this actually feasible? And it's something that we've had to work on because again, we used to spend separately. We used to deal with money separately, and it just got us into a lot of problems. So we said, okay, put everything on the table. Here are the things that we're planning to do for the year. How are we going to fund them? This is the income that we have. These are the additional things that we're expecting to come to pass. Additional expenses, major expenses. We just put down everything together. We do a budget for the year. At the end of every year, we budget for the following year. And then each month we go through together and say, okay, do we need to cut anything? Do we need to make an adjustment? Are we within budget? And we do the work. But it takes work, to get to that point. And for us, it was a part of the process of building trust. For us to be able to do that, we had to trust each other. Yeah,
and that part was important because. So we have the benefit of working with couples because as Renee mentioned, like we work with couples a lot. And one of the things that always stood out for us is that you speak to a husband or you speak to a wife, one is challenged with money or how the other person spends money. They're not comfortable talking about it.
Yeah.
They're not comfortable saying, well, Throp, I think you're spending too much on camera equipment. Just cut back a little bit. But no, they would let you do it. You rack up this bill, you get in debt, and then, well, that's your debt. That has nothing to do with me. So that doesn't make sense for us because there has to be some accountability. That's the benefit of being together. So you can help each other, right? If I have a problem with maybe going overboard with certain things, it's a benefit to have somebody to help me. Now she's going to give me her feedback. I may still choose to do that thing, but at least now if I do it and it doesn't work out, I'm going to come back to her and she's going to say, well, I understand what did you learn? That's the first thing she's gonna ask me. What did you learn?
And that's how we keep each other in check, right? Because we have different spending habits. And over the years, they have changed, because I used to be that person who does a little extra spending. And when I say a little, I mean like a $500 here or $1,000 there.
That adds up.
Right? And it adds up. It adds up and it makes a difference. He is more of a long game guy. So he'll wait.
I'll say for the whole
once
year
for
and
the
then
year,
spend twice as much that she spent that entire
right. He does one big spend. And I'm like, how can you spend so much money all at once? But I'm spending a little bit every time I go on the road, you know, a little bit extra, not for what I went on the road for, but, oh, this is cute,
right?
You know, so I have a million pens because I'm a stationary girl and I don't use them.
Or it's the Amazon shipment because she really wanted to buy this one book.
And I bought 5 other things.
Yes. It took us a while to adjust to that.
Yeah. So we've both had to adjust. I've had to learn how to manage that impulse buy. And he now also manages how much that annual spend is. And we discuss it.
Yeah. And a simple thing that we do there that, again, some persons kind of look at us strange when we say it, is that we set an allowance. We set a threshold. If you're spending within that amount, you don't need approval. It's okay to spend up to that amount. If it gets over that amount, we agree that we'll discuss it first.
I honestly don't think you're saying anything crazy. Like
it just sounds logical, right?
Very logical. And I think when I look and think of the successful relationships that I know of, marriages that I know of, it's this level of transparency that there is. The budgeting that you spoke about, like all these key words and coming up with that threshold amount that you don't need approval for, right? I think I've done my research on like successful relationships, and like these are things that you always hear them talk about, and I think doing it the other way, that's the unrealistic really the unrealistic reality of it, because it's just like, okay, then what do you expect when things do fall apart?
Exactly.
Yeah, it's a dangerous place to be when you're doing it that way, because people will come into the marriage with debt that you don't know about, or they'll rack up more debt while in the marriage that you don't know about, and then the fallacy that a lot of us believe is that our debt dies with us. It doesn't. It is transferred. Somebody has to pay.
Someone has to take care of it. Yeah.
Right. Somebody has to take care of it. So when you're in a marriage, who is that somebody? Your spouse. They're going to carry that. And even if while you're alive, they're still carrying that burden with you, because having that debt is causing stress and tension and frustration, and then it may be manifesting in a different way and coming out and impacting the relationship, and you're not even realizing that is the reason for it.
I'll give you a very practical example. Couple has been, married for a couple of years. They're not really watching each other's spending. The minute it will come up is when you go into NHD and the bank to get that house together. Because at that point, they're going to pull a credit report. So all of the things you tried to hide, it's going to show up anyway. So imagine now that you are ready to buy a house and you found out that your spouse has $2 million, $3 million debt. You now have to wait 12, maybe 18 months, 2 years to clear that debt before you can now buy a house. But you are talking about the house and buying the house and looking at houses, but somebody wasn't sharing something that is going to affect that goal.
Going to cause a problem.
Yeah.
It's definitely going to cause a problem. Yeah. So I think I got like an immense understanding of your origin stories and like how it directly ties into what you're doing today. And then also like the undercurrent reason for what you're doing and why you're doing it is extremely, extremely strong. And I want to really, really dive into that, the YouTube channel, and why or what motivates you, I guess, on a day-to-day basis to help people the way that you do through Think, Grow, Invest.
So we started, so what we really want to see with Learn, Grow, Invest is...
So I'm sorry, Learn, Grow, Invest.
Is we want to be able to we're looking ahead 20 years from now, 30 years from now. We want an entire generation of people to be able to manage their money in a way that we're managing it now. That we took 40 years to learn, we want them to be able to do by the time they're 21.
Right.
So that's kind of what's driving us, right? And for everything that we do that supports that vision, because we have really two arms. We have a community that's all about outreach and giving back and, you know, pouring into the lives of persons. And then we have a company. And the way that we see it is the company funds the community. Because one of the things we found out very soon is that for you to give back, somebody needs to pay the bills.
That's right.
The camera is not free. The time you spend, you know, creating content, like to do a free class takes preparation. So we learned very early we're running the community for about 3 years, and we're like, how are we gonna continue to fund this? And we started to work with sponsors and stuff like that. But then if you understand sponsorship, if you work with sponsors, you understand that it's almost like you can never get enough money. You always have to be kind of following up. And it sometimes almost feels like you have to do so much to get a little bit of money, if that makes sense. So sponsorship is extremely important. But it's almost like if I say to a potential sponsor, we need $20 million right now to ensure that we can reach every single child in Jamaica to teach them the basics of financial literacy. We're going to hear, well, that doesn't fit into our financial year. We can give you $100,000 for this one event, and you're going to reach 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 persons. But that's what we can give you for now. Come back next quarter for 100,000. Like, so we thought that didn't make sense. So if we can build a sustainable business that can give us the resources to continue to grow the community, that model just made sense for us. And because we already had the business sense and the business experience, we were able to grow our community, right? So to just kind of break down, well, I'll let Renee break down the community, because that's her passion. She is in charge of our outreach. So I'll let her share about the community, and I'll talk a little bit about the company.
So our community is what would have developed naturally out of our WhatsApp group, right? So what Jermaine would have shared earlier, how it grew, etc. And when we went online, we said, hey, let's just establish some social media pages as well for the community. And we did that. And each of those platforms have been growing. They continue to grow, and we're grateful for it, alongside the YouTube growth, right? So that aspect of our community is really teaching new investors, new persons who want to get better with their personal finance, persons who realize that, hey, there's a lot that we didn't learn in school about managing money. How can I get better at this? And we try to teach. We are teachers by nature. So we tend to try and help persons to understand. And we continue to do that because we see how much it changed our lives and how much it changes the lives of others. So that is kind of just the drive for us to continue doing it every day. And then we also have the outreach, where we intentionally go now to 2 schools per month. And we try to either go in person or do it online, whatever is more feasible. And we talk to the students. We've visited grade 6 students. We've done high schools. We've done universities. We've done service clubs, etc. But we go into the schools to teach them some fundamentals, some basics of money management, of financial literacy, etc., so that they're better equipped. And we also have a quarterly donation that we do. So we find a cause, or we identify a cause, and we work towards just doing that, and we engage our community with that as well, because not only do we want to teach you how to make money, You know, it's not just about making more money, but it is about being a valuable member of society. It's about stewarding your money well, and stewarding well means also being generous to others, right? So we encourage our community to participate in those as well. And we always give the updates. We give the full updates. Say, hey, this is where we are. This is what we've accomplished. This is how much we've collected. This is what we've done with the money. Here's the breakdown. So we're completely transparent with that because we do not like drama, you know? And it really, I'll just say this. We were really kind of back and forth about whether we wanted to do it, because we're like, you know, when people's money gets involved, it gets, you know, very ticklish, and we don't want it to become any reason for someone to be turned away, right? But so far, we've been doing it for 2 years, almost 2 years.
3 now. So
Yeah.
we've been able to raise a little bit over $2 million so far. And what we try to do each time is encourage our community to give more. So if we raised $300,000 last time, we're gonna see if we can do 400. And it's really about, what we thought about was this. We looked at some of the existing initiatives for giving back, and we realized that what was missing is that there was not always a lasting impact. And what I mean by this is, if you give me a bag of goodies for school, what happened to my school books? What happened to my school fee? What happened to maybe lunch money?
Right.
So what we try to do when we give back is we'll come in and ask, let's say that we're working with a children's home, we'll ask them what they want, and then using that list of what they want, we say, how can we make this a complete experience for them? And so there was a home that we worked with last year. You want to share that?
Yeah, so we worked with a home last year, and we were able, through the donations of our community, we were able to paint like 3/4 of their facility. And it's not a small facility. Let's just say that we were able to do the painting. We were able to establish plumbing, indoor plumbing for their laundry area. So all of the wards who were there were washing outside, like sit down on the ground with a washpan washing. So they had a washing machine, but they didn't have any electrical work to connect it. So we're like, well, it's kind of logical for us to say, hey, connect the washing machine for them, you know. And we were able to put in wash tubs. We're able to do a partition and create a storage area and a bunch of other things, including back to school supplies. So all of them were equipped with the back to school supplies. We were able to do partitioning for their rooms because their dorms were just open into the main living area. So they had zero privacy, and we were able to provide that for them. You know, so it's not always about the big thing,
right,
but it's about the practical thing, because lasting impact is what matters. Even now, they'll contact us and give us updates and say, hey, you know, when are you guys coming to visit again? Because we're looking forward to seeing you.
Right.
You know, so relationship is also built, and we're able to have meaningful dialogue with them and follow up. So that's the kind of giving back that we're interested in as a community, and we do that each quarter. Well, we try to do it each quarter. Sometimes we're a little late.
I mean, we do
but
we do it as often as we
quarter.
can, because it's really about, well, one of the things that we talk to our community about, it's like if I had $10 million to give and I give you that, there are times when sometimes your time is more valuable than the money you can give, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I know some people will probably like, that don't make sense, I'll take the money. But there are some persons, especially with children, where when you invest time in them, right, because there are children who have everything that they need, but they don't have the right self-image because nobody has poured into them, right? So in addition to what we did for that home, we went to spend the day with them.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Right?
Awesome.
Because to us, that's because we know the value of our time. We know what our hourly rate is. So we're like, let's spend this time because it's invaluable. right? So and you get to kind of meet them,
Yeah.
hear from them, like let them just spend time with them, because they might have been getting donations for all these years, but it's faceless people. They never
Yeah.
meet them.
So it wasn't even about like financial education for them.
Yeah.
It was just spending time with them as children. We are foster parents, and so that's a big part of our heart as well, seeing our children grow and become
You
better.
You don't want
like,
Renee to start talking about children.
like yes, they're a big part of our heart, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, we being foster parents, we're now open, and we understand a lot more about how they not just foster care, but how the state care system works. And it's troubling what is happening with a lot of the children who are in state care. Like the statistics right now show that 80% of them age out, meaning that they turn 18 and they have nowhere to go, and they become criminals.
Oh, no.
They join a gang, they end up on the street side. So
Do you know how many children or percentage of the population we're talking that fall into that?
So right now there are over 4,000 children in state care in Jamaica, and some of them are available for adoption, some of them are not. Some are available for fostering and others are not. But the last number that we got, because we are foster care ambassadors as well, the last number that we got said that about 1,200 children are available for fostering, meaning that they're there in the homes waiting for somebody to care enough to say, come, for someone to open their home and their heart, because it does take a lot, and we get that, we understand it. Or son is our second foster baby, so we've been through getting a foster child and having to give back that foster child, right? And he was a baby. He was a 3-month-old.
By the way, it's not like you see in the movies.
No, not here,
like you see in the movies.
right?
What do you mean by that?
It's not because in the movies sometimes they may show where couples just kind of take in foster kids to get money to get taken care of by the government, or it's like
I see.
That's not like that.
Like no, right? If you're gonna take in a child, you know that it's going to be money out of
It's
your
the same
pocket.
thing,
Like
yeah.
you're going to be caring for literally he becomes your child. So you have to be prepared from that perspective. But it's we've been through the pains of it, and we understand that it's difficult. But at the same time, when these children age out and become criminals, who you think they're going to target? The same people who had the opportunity to care for them and didn't. So where do you want to lay your hat? Do you want to say
you want to try and solve crime, or you want to maybe?
So where can people find out more information about becoming a foster parent or foster parents?
So the direct route, there are two ways, right? Publicly, CPFSA, that's Child Protection and Family Services Agency. They are the only licensed institution to approve foster parents and facilitate foster care, etc. However, there is a private foster care program that we are ambassadors for. That's for the child. It is a Christian program, and they're run by Family Life Ministries. They work in collaboration with CPFSA, and if you fit their criteria, then you can go through them. And the benefit of going through them is what they add to what CPFSA gives you, right? So there's additional counseling, because Family Life Ministries is a counseling center, so they're able to give you additional counseling. They also partner with Nairn Homes from Canada. So again, more counseling and more teaching, which is very, very important in this process, because I don't think oftentimes we realize how much that group home setting damages our children's health, like mental health. A lot of the children are very, very troubled. And so you need help to manage them, to deal with them as troubled children, and they need the help to work through the trouble. So the counseling is very important, and they do give you an additional stipend so that you can manage a little better financially. So those are the two options for the child, or going directly to CPFSA, and they both have websites, so it's a simple search and you find them.
Oh, thank you for that. I don't think people realize that these resources are out there. So
it's something that it's strangely still so much of an unknown, right? And so I mean, as you can clearly say from the last few minutes, like, having an impact on the next generation is extremely important for us.
I can see that.
So that's really what's driving everything that we're doing with Learn, Grow, Invest, because it's something that we would do for as long as we're physically and financially able to do it.
Right.
Like, it's a kind of work that we would probably spend the rest of our lives doing. But we understand, for example, that, I mean, it's just something that takes resources, right? Yeah. And so what we have to try and do simultaneously is build a business. So as I said, we can just be able to do the things that we're doing, because so we're able to now not have to think twice if we have to give a donation or to help somebody out, because we understand, you know, the basics of managing our money. We understand our business and we're running that. So on the company side, I said I would just kind of go through that kind of quickly.
Please,
so
thank you.
The company is pretty straightforward. So we try to, on the basic level, we do financial coaching and consultation. We're not financial advisors. So we can't tell you what to buy. I can't say, buy this company for this reason. I'm not allowed to do that. What I can do is tell you, this is how you find the company that you'd want to buy. So I'm teaching you how to invest, and that will help you in your conversations with your financial advisor to find the right investment for you, right? So we believe that everybody should have the basic level of understanding. Even if you're not going to actively manage it, you need to know if your advisor is telling you something that makes sense.
Right.
Right. We've seen an incident in the near past, where we saw the importance of kind of being the one to kind of hold the reins, right? So that's the basic part. Next, we work. And
who is your typical client, would you say?
So our typical client would be, well, it actually varies. So we have persons where they're trying to get out of debt. That's probably the greatest struggle. We are highly indebted as a society. Right? I think I saw an article where up to 60% of persons were carrying some form of consumer debt. Right? So somebody wants to clear debt, somebody who wants to learn how to invest. So you're not really debt free, you have some capital, you're not really sure what to do with it, because you realize that as you're working, you're saving money, but it's not moving the needle. Right? So you've been working, I know persons working for 5 years, or I met this person once working for 15 years, had 5 million saved. It's like, I've been working for 15 years and that's all I have. So investing can put you over the top, right? So persons who want to learn how to invest, and then in general, maybe somebody who has maybe made some mistakes and wants a framework to say, okay, these are principles that I can use to manage my money well. So those are just kind of the broad, categories.
And we also have a few persons who have a clean slate, and they're like, I want to make the right steps. So instead of making the mistakes, let me come and learn how to do it correctly. Gotcha. So we have those persons as well.
So that's the individual. We also have an academy that we've built where we have courses. So if you want to learn about stocks or real estate or, investing in the US market, you can go to that academy. I mean, the problem with the academy, of course, I have to say we have to create the courses. We've launched the academy with one course, and we're going to be building our courses over time. What's
the course on? The one that you've launched already?
So what we did is we had a conference last year called Grow Your Wealth. It was a free conference. We had 15 speakers come together to cover various topics. Persons were saying to us it should have been a paid event. Like, it was so good. So what we did was pretty much bottle that and just make that available,
Awesome.
right? And that's what
But-
we plan to do for this year as well.
But we do have on pre-order or stocks for beginners course.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we've done that as a free class before, and people were very thankful. I think we had thousands of people who came out for that.
Yeah. The last class we had about 5,000 persons join on the day.
Yeah.
Wow.
So we are also creating that course with all of the fixings. So all the resources, all the tools you need, all the videos, all the downloadables, everything, all the workbooks, everything will be there and available. through the
Okay,
Academy.
I'll just do a plug for Renee real quick. So Renee, every course that we do, she creates a workbook. So she takes the content that I create, creates a workbook out of it, and persons love it, right? So so imagine you going to a session like that or watching a video and having to take notes. She makes it so that you don't have to take notes because everything is based on the content. So
Awesome.
it's like if we're talking about investing, she's gonna recap the material plus like create a financial plan in the document for you. So I am going to invest X amount of money in these type of companies based on these criteria, right?
Yeah, because we believe that it must be practical,
Right.
right? When you're done, you should have something that you can work with. You're walking out with a plan to say this is how it's going to go. moving
Because what we want is that the person will actually make a change. There is something that's going to be changing because we're not creating content for entertainment, it's for education. So if you don't apply the knowledge, then the knowledge was wasted, right?
Exactly.
forward.
So that's what we want to kind of remove that barrier of entry to action. Right. On the other side now we do kind of workshops, presentations. So if you wanted us to come to this hotel and teach your staff about managing their money, because you'll find that employees who know how to manage their money well are happier employees.
Yep. Like
So-
the studies actually show
Yeah.
that.
So they're not asking for more money as easily because they're managing what they have.
Right.
And the companies find that employees are happier because there's this idea sometimes there are persons who earn a reasonable wage and are still in debt, living above their means. They're going to be unhappy because in their mind, I need to make more money.
Right.
So if in their mind they need to make more money, they're now unproductive on your time.
Yeah.
So those are the things that we find that when we go into companies, teach their employees about money, talk to them about the decisions that will go through your mind when you're struggling with money. Same things that we went through.
Right.
Then we find that makes a difference.
awesome.
And then finally, we work with publicly listed companies. So we're helping them build out investor relations. And what that means essentially is that there's a relationship between a publicly listed company and its investors that needs work, right? Because you invest in a company, you need to hear from them, they need to hear from you. So we kind of stand in the middle to foster that relationship.
Gotcha.
And all of these things, all of this services that we provide happen virtually or mostly virtual.
Mostly.
Because we
Yeah.
try to be as efficient as we can.
No, that's great. I love the model.
Yeah.
I think, and I'm sure you're impacting many people across the board. And I'm sure the YouTube channel helps you get those clients,
Yes,
right?
Right. So
it's our resume.
Exactly.
It's our
I was
resume.
gonna say, and what we host, we usually host on our channel. So it sensitizes people to the channel and what we do, and then it acts as our resume to say, okay, here's what we've done, here's what people have to say about it. So
And of course, everybody out there, please go visit their channel. Link is in the description and I'm sure across the bottom right now.
Yeah.
But can you give us an idea of what people can expect from the content on your channel?
Okay, so I'll try to paint the vision.
Yes.
So what we want to get to is a place where on our YouTube channel will be a repository of everything that you'll need to learn as it relates to finance. And what I mean by that is on a basic level, you want to learn things like maybe understanding your pay slip, knowing how to pay your taxes, knowing how to take advantage of your NHT benefits, on an investing level, you may want to understand how to invest, what to invest in the different options. From now a wealth building level, you may want to understand what are the different ways to diversify my wealth so that I'm prepared for retirement, and kind of everything in between. So YouTube for us is an opportunity again to create videos and content that can transcend us. So we want to create such a repository that when we make that last video, it can serve our son, who is 2 years old right now. When he gets to that point where he needs to be thinking about money, he can get everything he needs. And of course, for those who want to take that next step, then we've created platforms like our academy and the different services to take you over the top. But at the very basic level, we believe everybody should be able to do the basics, understand the basics, and to just make better decisions with their money.
I think you guys do like amazing service. Like that's crazy. Cause like we did a podcast, like me and my team, we did a live stream, and the name of the live stream is like, is the Jamaican dream dead? And it was really inspired by a lot of negative comments that we were getting on the real estate market and these housing podcasts that we've been doing. And it was just saying that the average Jamaican can't and won't be able to afford a home.
Right.
And going back to some of what we were originally talking about, I think that the expectations for owning a certain type of home are a little bit unrealistic for where people are at this point in their life. Perhaps they can get there and own a $40 million, $50 million home at some point in their life, but maybe now, first career, first job,
you
perhaps
can't go
not.
from 0 to 40.
And that was the point. So everybody on my team is 35 and under, 34 and under, except for me. But it was me like asking them questions and kind of getting understanding of their mindset and their approach. Do you all believe that you will be able to own a home in their lifetime? And the answer all around was a resounding yes. And what we found was that there was also a misunderstanding or maybe a lack of education in terms of how NHT works and how loans work, how the access to capital and what you have to do to qualify. And so we put together like it was a discussion, and then from the discussion we put together like a white paper that we gave out for free to show everybody. It's just like, if you are not there now, at least you know in the back of your mind on paper what you need, what you need to do to get to where you want to go. And I think that's the most important thing, as opposed to saying, I will never have this. The system is created to work against me. And it's just like, no, let's let's educate ourselves here. And going back to your channel, what you're doing, I think that's like so important that what you're doing really needs to get out there to the average person, to the young people. And I don't know of any other channels that are doing what you're doing, but I just want to big you up for that.
So there are persons who, so I think, so we're not better than anyone else. I think we're just different in that we are thinking about the person from the perspective of really, like, we want to see persons be brought to a place of change. Like, we're not creating content for content's sake, right? There are certain aspects of our channel that are, let's say, maintenance content. And as a YouTuber, you understand what I mean, right?
Exactly.
You have maintenance content where if you don't do that, then, like, as we said, it's our resume, right? So we have to have that. But what we do, like, for example, the detail that we go into, like most other persons who do content, you're maybe doing like 10-minute videos or 15-minute videos. When we do our most successful video right now is investing for beginners. It's everything that you need to know as a beginner to learn how to invest. It's 45 minutes long. It has 25,000 views. And that content is what some persons would charge maybe $25,000 in a class.
Right.
Right? But we saw the opportunity to have persons, if we can again encourage a generation to start investing, then they'll see all the opportunities that exist, because the system is set to keep us in a certain cycle. But if you understand certain things, you can break out of that cycle. And a cycle that I'll say a very, very clear one is debt. We are programmed very early that the key to achieving our goals is debt. Everything that you've ever wanted to own in your life, there is a loan for it. Anything that you've ever wanted to do, there's a loan for it. And so we think growing up that when we work and we start to earn, okay, I want to buy a car. What's the best way? Take a loan. I want to buy a house. Take a loan. I want to go on vacation. They have loans for that too now. So that keeps us in a state where we want to pull forward, or we want to pull to now something that maybe we work for 5 years and then we buy our first car. So debt teaches us to be impatient, where we don't have to work and wait 5 years. We take the loan now and we pay it off in 5 years. But when the 5 years ends, you would have paid $6 million for a $3 million car. So you paid 2 times for something that if you waited, you'd be able to buy it cash, buy it once, and then you're now, even if that should be value as a car, you're net positive because you would have spent $6 million to own that car. You're ready to sell it. It's worth 1.5 or 1. And then you do that again. And that's what we do. We do the same thing for a house. It's a 35-year mortgage. So most persons are working till 30, 35 to own their first home. Add 35 to that, you're 70 before you're debt free. Your whole life is gone. So we want to create content to kind of push people out of that cycle. And if we do that, everybody's better off for it.
Because the other consideration with that, while we're in that debt cycle, we still want to live our lives. We still want to travel. We still want to, go out with friends. We still want to do all of these things. And the truth is, it makes it more difficult when you have to consider, okay, I have to pay this mortgage, I have this auto loan, I have this other debt, and that, I have this credit card to pay off. Can you really afford a vacation? And no, you can't. But our culture is telling us,
I need to clear my mind because work is so stressful. I need a weekend.
Yeah. And the truth is, sometimes you maybe just need to go sit in front of a body of water. It's free to do that. You can do that. But because, again, we're bombarded so much with everything around us, all of the Instagrams and, everybody living their best life online. Right. You don't really know what's behind it, but it looks nice. So, hey, let me go and do that too. And even subconsciously, we're being impacted by it. And if we're not actively working against it, then we'll fall into that cycle very easily. And mindset is therefore something that we start off with and help persons to realize that it's okay to think differently. It's okay to not want to be in debt. It's okay to choose to wait. Not everything has to come right now as soon as you think about it, as soon as you want it. It's okay to wait. It's okay to say no to some things, So
that's what started like the FIRE movement in the US. Right. Persons are understanding the importance of being debt free and early, because the generation that we're coming out of, it seemed like the goal, the dream, to just get a job, get a bunch of loans, and hopefully you retire with enough to spend your non-working years in a reasonable state.
Right.
That's not it.
Right. No. It's a trick. It's a trick. It really is. And I think most of society, not just in Jamaica, but definitely the United States, falls into that trap. And I am just lucky enough that and I hated it, but my dad, he was just been totally against loans his entire life. This property, travelers, we don't always cent on it. And
That's awesome.
And it's
That's
because
amazing.
he just, and it was through one, it was like, I think a big reason though, he tried to get loans and he couldn't get it. And he's like, you know what?
That's also a thing we can talk about.
Forget about it. So
Yeah.
he decided to fund this with his own money to buy the land. And it took him,
Build it up over time, right?
I would say over 15, 18
There you
years. Like literally the revenue, we started off with one wooden bungalow. And like year after year, the money from that went right
There
back
you
into
go.
the business. And it was like
Reinvested.
what you
Yeah.
said before, the P word, patience. And it's just like, do you have the discipline to implement delayed gratification and know that you're working towards just a bigger picture? And you know, obviously we're living in a very different time that is influenced by many of the things that are happening on social media. And you just can't be distracted by those things. Same, like no auto loans. I don't know if my dad has ever owned a new car. I've never owned a new car in my
drives
life.
the same. It gets you to the
A
same
to
place.
B, gas goes in. I work
You're
it out,
good.
do the maintenance, and it's fine. But I get it. It's hard. It's
Yeah,
hard
it's
because
extremely hard.
It's hard.
you got everybody around you. They're getting the new iPhone. They're getting the new Benz or whatever it is, and I would say just, you know, try not to get caught up with keeping up with the Joneses.
I would
Yeah.
just say, so what I say to persons is this: banks make billions of dollars doing loans. Like that. That's all I need to say. Meaning, it benefits someone when you take a loan. So a car salesman let me actually just say this: we're not against the thing that you want to buy, right? So for example, there's nothing wrong with buying a car.
Sure.
There's nothing wrong with owning a home. I think one of the things we teach in our coaching program is the true cost of ownership. That's our problem, because it's always advertised as get this new car for easy payments of $50,000 a month. They're not telling you you're paying $8 million for the car. Nobody says that anywhere. About when you're ready to sign the contract, it will show these are your loan payments, this is what you pay. And if you do the math over 8 years, because auto loans now go up to 10 years.
10, yeah.
So imagine now you're doing a 10-year loan for something like a motor vehicle, right?
Or depreciating asset.
So if you look at the total cost of ownership, you need to ask yourself this question: is this thing that that I'm about to purchase worth what I'm going to pay for it in total? If you look at it that way, it makes you look at it differently. And that's one of the things that we did before we moved into our first home, because I looked at that number and said, Renee, we're going to pay for this for 35 years. We're paying 2 times the advertised price of the house. Is it worth that to you? And she's like, well, it's peace of mind for me, which is priceless. But she had to accept and understand that number, because we're having to work every month to pay that mortgage.
Right.
Regardless of what we earn, that mortgage comes out first. Right? If we don't pay it for 3 months, they're gonna come knocking. It's gonna go in foreclosure, and somebody else will move in. And that's another thing that is not talked about. Like, if you can't pay for it, somebody else will. Like, they have no issues, because that's what you signed to. Like, you signed to say, well, if I default on this, come and take it back.
Right.
And it's just it's
that's
dangerous.
That's one of the life lessons we had to learn too, because we would have gone through we want the house, we want the car, we'll take the loan for it. You know,
We've taken more loans than
we've taken a lot of loans. So we get it.
Yeah.
We get it. You know, you want that new car off the lot feeling and,
It feels
and everything.
good.
Yeah, it feels
I'm not
great.
lying, it feels good.
Until
But you're gonna pay for it.
Yeah, it feels good until it doesn't. Meaning that maybe a couple years in or a couple months in, yes, you're looking at your finances and you're like, is this really worth it? You know, so it's worth taking that step back.
Yeah.
And looking at what is really needed, what is practical. And I say it this way when we're talking to the kids. I say, listen, you need food, but do you need KFC? No. You know, do you need, or do you just want it? Think about things from that perspective. Why do you, and then when you say, okay, it's a want versus a need. Why do you want it? Why is it so important to you? So
Because
important that you would confuse it with a
I
need.
ad every time I watch TV.
And
Because
it would just be a subconscious preference, you know?
Because it's an either like an after school ritual. I grew up every Friday on KFC. Like it was a thing that you looked forward to your parents coming for you. The lines weren't as long when I was growing up. You maybe waited an hour and a half. Now you wait 3 hours. It's crazy to me.
And people still like going religiously.
It's incredible.
Yeah.
Incredible.
Right?
But go ahead, yes.
And the funniest thing about it, I like that particular example, right? The funniest thing about it,
we could cook 3 meals, eat 3 meals.
during the time you're
that
waiting.
time.
But we used to be like big KFC people, right? Especially
We don't have an
like-
issue with KFC, by the way.
No, we don't. We don't. So like me and the hot wings, it was religiously every week, you know, sometimes multiple times per week. And I was like, and then I got sick. so I couldn't eat it for a while. And then I started craving it. So I was just like, you know, just this one time, it'll be fine. Then I had it and it made me horribly sick.
Oh,
So
no.
okay, I can't eat it anymore. And then years later, I said, okay, maybe I can try one piece of chicken now. And it just does not taste the same to me anymore. So I was like, what was I so hooked on? You know, what was it for me? And I realized it had nothing to do with them. It had nothing to do with their food. It was just a comfort thing for me.
And the experience. So it's a real thing where a lot of our decisions, so spending is emotional. So we do a lot of the things that we spend on are based on us either wanting to maybe relive a past memory. So for example, remember for me what I said, it's something that my father did. So my parents separated the year I was born. On Fridays, we would go to him. He would pick up food in KFC, then drop us home. So that was a thing for me, right? And so a lot of times our spending is motivated by something deep in our subconscious that we may not even be aware of. We have to really sit and think about it to understand what's driving it. And so, I mean, those are things that we're just kind of programmed to do. If you're allowed to detach from it, then you'll find that your world opens up. Meaning, we now can eat and experience food, different types of food,
foods,
different places. And the truth is, we can spend the same money and have a better experience in a restaurant where we sit down now and spend 45 minutes to eat, rather than spending 45 minutes in the drive-thru.
Yeah.
Understand?
Right.
That's a trade-off we're making now, because we literally looked at it and said, okay, we're having this habit that we're spending this amount of money. How can we substitute the time and the money for a richer experience? Because what we want to do, we don't know how long we're going to live. So what would we value more? Would we value the experience, or would we value all the things that we would have been able to accumulate or store? And we say that to each other as well in terms of our marriage. If this is our last day together, are we going to have any regrets? Have I said everything I need to say to you? Have you said everything you need to say to me? Or we're going to be like, well, maybe we're better off living another way. We don't want that. So if you find that what you value in your life are the experiences, the relationships, etc., focus on that. And a practical example there is that we try to not let money impact our relationships with our family, with our friends. And again, debt hampers that. So for example, friends wanted to go somewhere. Can you come with us? No, you can't afford it because you're in debt.
Right.
Whereas now, if somebody, like the other day we had lunch with friends and we could comfortably pay the bill because we could afford to. Like it's such a simple thing.
Yeah.
But a lot of people can't do it.
Yeah.
Like we had a stage where we couldn't be invited by certain friends because what they wanted to do was too expensive for us. And that impacted how we had a relationship with them, because you may feel like they don't understand that you don't have that money.
Yeah.
And then they may feel like, wise. So for those who have money, money is not an issue. But those who don't have it, it's a big deal.
Right.
And so these things just like it's so connected, right? Everything that we're talking about here is all connected, and it's how we spend our money says a lot about who we are.
And with that, with the channel, Learn, Grow, Invest.
Yeah.
What's the future of it? Where are you taking it?
That depends on a couple of things, right? Meaning, we are trying our best to build something that we can be proud of, that can leave a legacy. Where it will go really depends on, we think it comes down to partnerships. And what I mean by that is, what we want to do is tap into healthy networks to expand our message. And what I mean by that is, if we can partner with, so we're both YouTubers, but we're both educators. You're educating people in a different way, in a different format. If we can partner, and we've already started to have some of these discussions, if we can create that model where we're working on strategic partnerships, you don't always know where the partnerships will go. You don't know who you'll reach. But if we can plant a seed where now somebody who is watching this talks to their son or their daughter about money. I actually got a call from someone in Trinidad yesterday. Shout out to Nicole. I hope you're watching this. Nicole watched our video. We did a review on a stock for a company she worked at. And she said she learned so much about the company she's worked at for many years from our review that she started to use our content and material to share with her coworkers.
Amazing.
Exactly. So I'm like, if we can start mini Learn, Grow, Invest communities, they don't have to be called Learn, Grow, Invest, but what they look like is people talking about money, people managing money well, people just having, like, being able to experience life and fulfill purpose because they're not hampered by their poor money management skills.
Right.
That we can change and address a lot of the issues that we have on a fundamental level. So I hope that answers the question, because what I'm really saying is that there's no limit to what I think we can accomplish. We see it as something that could potentially be global, but we focus on just one opportunity at a time. Understanding that it's just the two of us, and we have our marriage and we have our family. Yes. We would love to get help. We would love to have a team. We'd love to have, things that we can automate or streamline, but it takes resources. Yeah. And so if I'm really right here hoping that one day, like a dream of mine would be if somebody says, here's a limitless budget to fulfill the community aspirations. Like if you were to ask me what I would love to do is would love to see every child being educated in the basics of finance, because we believe if we do that and then we get to a point where we can now on the couples level address how couples manage their money and relationships, then you're addressing the family. Right? So mom and dad's money is sorted out. They have open, transparent communication about money. Child understands money, understands the impact of money, will grow up to be responsible with money. Then you have a generation who is not indebted, that we don't have this like ridiculous debt to GDP issue and like some whole list of things that happens because we are not managing money well. And I mean, it's like, honestly, whatever the Lord wants to do with it, we're open. If you call us to go to Africa tomorrow to speak to people about money, speak to the people there about money, we'd do it. Because the good thing about what we're talking about is that there are nuances to each culture, but the basics are the same. Right? So we just want the opportunity to continue to do that. It takes resources. Running a YouTube channel is not cheap. Like we just celebrated making $1,000 today, and
Lifetime.
I'm over the moon about that
Lifetime.
because there is a grind to being a YouTuber, as you know. Like
I could tell you when I first monetized my channel, like hand on my heart, when I made my first 18 cents, I was excited. I was like, this is crazy. This is
like,
crazy.
You're getting paid now.
Yeah.
Like it's
I was like so amazed. I was like, I made 18 cents. This is awesome. And then it just goes from there. Congrats, by the way, on that.
Thank
That's a big
you.
deal. Yeah.
And the reason why
Thank you.
it means so much is that it's hard. Like we've done over 240 videos. The average time, let's say, is probably 40 minutes. Multiply
they're
that,
long form.
and then each of them take planning. So let's say we spend 4 hours per video over the last 3 years of our lives to make $1,000. It's just the thought is ridiculous to me, but
It's a lot.
it shows just how much it means to us. And I think that's the biggest thing I take away from it, because I look at just the work and the diligence, for example, for your channel. Like I'm watching the videos and I'm like, Throp has put a lot of thought into this. Like it's not just, turn on the camera and we're here. And like there's a business to YouTube that I think a lot of persons need to appreciate. And all we ask you to do is like the video. And like it's like the like is free. It's free to like the video.
But it's like, I feel sometimes like people think of it as a power play.
Yeah.
Like I can withhold my like from you. Like your content is good, but it's my like.
Yes.
So
Like
I'm gonna be very,
you have to impress me.
Yeah.
Like it's almost like no, and it's I think really how that happens is that we build trust first, and then the like comes. That's just the truth, because we do it personally as well, because we're consumers of content.
Right.
And I'll watch the whole video, but if I'm not convinced or I don't like you, you're not getting my like.
Yeah.
And so I'll watch a couple of times and I'll be like, you know what? I'm liking everything you do now because I believe in what you're doing.
I will tell you this too, that there are also some persons on the other end of the scale who religiously dislike. Like we have a string of videos, there's just one dislike, one dislike. We're like, what? It's so strange.
Yeah, I don't know if you've seen that maybe on your side, because
like
I'm happy that they've hit the dislike button, as you know.
I haven't even checked the dislikes, to
so
be honest. I know it's hidden. Honestly, as you said that, I was like, man, I haven't even checked it.
Yeah. That's good.
Yeah.
That's good. I remember when we first used to see it, it used to bother us a lot more. Now we're like,
what did we do wrong?
No,
but no,
you're
just
still
like,
watching the video. Yeah, you have to watch the video to dislike the video.
Yeah,
so you're giving us your attention, your time, meaning that we can reach you, we can impact you in some way, and that's good all the same. I mean,
or
I
they
just
could just dislike it without watching it.
I think
you
at
just
the
don't
end
know.
of the day, like the most important thing is that, and I would say I put myself in the same category as you guys, is the impact that we're having and the content we're creating.
Yeah.
That's the most important thing.
That's the most important thing.
I do believe what you all are doing is really changing the mindset and the psyche. And the way I think about it is it's like, okay, how can we get more people to consume this type of content? Because especially, again, going back to that live stream that we did, Is the Jamaican Dream Dead? And it's just like, man, it just brings just this different sense of awareness of like, you don't have to think of this. You don't have to think of Jamaica in this negative way, and then 2, you don't have to think of the world of finance as this overwhelming. I'll never do this. I'll never do that. Like, it's possible. It's possible, and I think your content, in a very detailed and tactical way, shows the possibilities with discipline, diligence, and patience. You can accomplish things that you probably never thought you'd be able to accomplish in your life.
And it's the very same thing for you as well. And I say that because I've been watching your content for a while. Your message has always been the same. Like you believe in Jamaica, you believe in people investing in Jamaica. And so I like to think if you follow any creator for a while, it's almost like you have to, at least on some level, partner with that vision. So everybody who is a part of your community, who is a part of our community, is ultimately going to be partnering with us to execute our vision.
Exactly.
Because we are doing this, both of us, because we want to change the world.
There we go.
But the change comes through the people who actually do things differently. So that's how I look at it, because we used to get so discouraged because you do all this work, you do a video and you get 10 views. But Renee said to me something so powerful. She's like, imagine if 10 persons were in this room right now. And then when I used to get like 300 views, she's like, 300 people is a full room. Like that, in most spaces that would be filled to the brim. Would you feel happy if you went to a room and it was full and people were there to listen to you? Yes, you would. Why would I get discouraged with 300 views? And so I started to notice that our community was very consistent. So we had a few hundred people watching every single video, and we started to go out everywhere we went. Hey, Jermaine, here. I'm like, I don't know you, but you know me clearly because you've been watching me for years, and we have this relationship. And it reminds us that a view is a person.
There you go.
Right?
There you go.
So if your channel has 1 million views, you've reached 1 million people, or at least you've reached 500,000 people 2 times, right? Because I always get kind of messed up with that when people say we've reached 1 million people. Did you really? Because views don't work that way. But anyway, we are making a difference, and I can see where the thing that I lament the most is that a lot of what we do is underestimated. Because it's not a big name, it doesn't make the papers or it doesn't make the news. But a lot of times we are influencing greater change than what is coming through like mainstream. Because again, like persons will watch your content religiously. They now start to sound like you. They start to act like you. And you are that, I mean, that's why they use the term influencer, right? Because we're influencing change. And it's a very powerful thing.
It sure is. It sure is.
Yeah.
You guys are doing very, very powerful work. And I think that's a good place to kind of end this segment. I'm sure we will do it again. With that, could you tell everybody contact information? I know you have a private group and also the academy. You have your investment conference coming up as well later this year. We want to hear about all of it, and how can people find out more information on it?
Go.
So we are at Learn, Grow, Invest across social media. So that's Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter,
TikTok.
And TikTok. And I say that very lowly because
So
we haven't actually
created, but
the page is there, but the content isn't.
I'm
so,
the same boat, so no sweat. Yeah.
So yes, at Learn, Grow, Invest across social media platforms and on YouTube, of course. And then in terms of contacting us, you can email us at contact@learngrowinvestclub.com, or you can visit our website, learngrowinvestclub.com. And our academy is learngrowinvestacademy.com.
And the conference is Learn, Grow, Invest Conference.com.
So as our conference information becomes available, the website will be updated to reflect it accordingly.
Yeah.
But yeah, we try to be consistent. It's Learn, Grow, Invest.
Everything that you see on social media, everything that represents us was done by Renee. So she manages our branding. So persons actually think we have like a marketing team. I was like, no, that's all Renee.
One person.
Awesome.
That one man team.
So
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
Thank
So Jermaine, Renee, thank you both so much. I think this has been an awesome segment, and we'll have to do it again sometime.